I wasn't having any complications at all. I was 35 years old and had two other pregnancies that failed. And then at about 20 weeks, I started having preterm labor, and they monitored me outside of my, it was outpatient in my OB's office. Then I got an okay from my OB to go on a business trip to Mississippi, and on that trip I was required to do a lot of sitting, and about halfway through the week, a friend of mine who had also had preeclampsia noticed that my face was getting very swollen, and then she asked me if she could look at my ankles, and then we realized I had no idea my ankles were as big as my knees, and my knees were hurting, and it was real hard to walk. And so she forced me to go up to my room, and we kept my legs up on pillows until the trip was over and we could go home. She made me promise to go past a drugstore on my way home and get my blood pressure checked, and she said if the bottom number was near 90, that I better call my OB or she'd never talk to me again. And the bottom number was 99. And so I called my OBGYN, and she told me to meet her at the hospital right away. And I met her, and at this point I was 26 weeks. They admitted me, gave me 1 injection of Celestone for the baby's lungs, and I stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks. While I was in there, they gave me a 2nd injection of Celestone, and they did a lot of other tests, liver enzymes. They also did a biophysical ultrasound every day to see if the baby's lungs were starting to practice, the baby was starting to practice to breathe. And then they decided that even though she wasn't breathing on, practicing her breathing, that they would try to deliver because they thought that I was showing signs of abruption. Also during this time they did put me on magnesium sulfate. Originally they put me on they started it with a bolus of magnesium, and I crashed, and the last thing I remember was that my blood pressure was 44/22, and they tilted the bed up, and I don't really remember very much after that. But they did the C-section, and took the baby to the NICU, and she was born weighing 2 pounds 5 ounces, and was born at 28 weeks, just short of 28 weeks, but we call her 28 weeks. Do you have any questions?
Is there anything that the nurses did to help you when you were going through the preeclampsia, or is there something they could have done? What do you remember that the nurses did when they came into the room that was helpful to you, so other nurses can learn from that?
There was one nurse in particular, and she actually gave me a baby's first Christmas ornament, but she was just so sweet and understanding, and she took the time to explain. She knew that by my knowing what was happening and knowing what to expect would make me feel better instead of scare me, and I'm sure not all women are the same, because I know women who freak out over the least little thing, but for me personally, it helped me tremendously to know what to expect and what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of. So that was really huge. And plus, she was just so sweet and soft-spoken and gentle, and she had kids of her own, and and she was just good to talk to.